Hey guys, what's up? It is the one and only RJ21 here, and today I'm going to be recapping the events of week 3 of Big Brother 25 and giving my updated power rankings. Week 3 did not have any big twists, so no auto noms after losing a comp, no nether region, none of that. It was just a regular week of Big Brother, so that's a good thing. The week starts off with Felicia winning HOH in a crapshoot competition. Felicia now has the intention of backdooring Hisam because of Hisam's previous HOH reign. Felicia nominates Cameron and Jag, with both of them being pawns. Those three, along with Red, Izzy, and Corey, are selected to compete in the power veto competition, in which Jag wins. Jag then uses the power veto to save himself, and Hisam is put up as the replacement nominee. While there was initially a plan to flip the votes onto Hisam and keep him in the house, ultimately, the votes fell back onto him, and Hisam was evicted unanimously by a vote of 11-0, making this the first time in Big Brother US history where the first 3 evictions of the season were all unanimous votes. From a casual standpoint, this might seem like boring, and it's just, oh, everybody's doing what the HOH wants, when in actuality, the dynamics and fluidity of the house are so much more interesting than that. The best way to describe the dynamics of the house is like Cirie is like the nucleus of the house, and like everything is just surrounding her. Everything is revolving around Cirie. With the first week, it was like a split house. It was the professors versus family style. With the second week, with Hisam's HOH, it was more or less the same. It was still somewhat the professors versus the remainder of family style, because at that point, family style had started to break up and whatnot. But now, it's a very fluid house. There's no longer like concrete sides in the house, but rather smaller groups of people that are working alongside one another. We have the remnants of family style with Jag, Blue, and Matt trying to work with Cirie's family, with Cirie, Jared, Izzy, and Felicia. We also have notable duos in Corey and America, and Cameron and Red, and that's about it. Those are all of the groups that are important as of right now. Obviously, like, there are groups that are targeting each other, and there obviously are house targets, but as it stands right now, there's no clearly defined sides, but rather just everything is revolving around Cirie and her gameplay, which is creating very fluid gameplay. I know I'm saying gameplay a lot, but it's really interesting when looking at everything, because no one is necessarily being like the house target. Nobody's like, oh, we need to get this, we need to get Riley out because her HOH split the house, we need to get Hisam out because he was a dictator. You know, there's no like definite house target that everybody can unanimously agree upon. Just a quick disclaimer, just like all of my other previous power rankings, this video is being filmed after the HOH and the nomination ceremony, so I know who the week 4 HOH is and who they nominated, and that will be playing a factor into my power rankings. But with all that said, let's get into the power ranking. I'll just quickly recap the people who have been evicted. So at number 17, we have Luke. At number 16, we have Kirsten. And at number 15, we have Riley. Now, at number 14, the most recently evicted house guest, we have Hisam. And it's really disappointing to lose Hisam this early. He was a really entertaining figure. Not necessarily like outward entertaining somebody like a Felicia on the season, but he was unintentionally funny with the way his general demeanor and how he came across in both conversations and his diary room sessions. He was pretty entertaining to watch. It was a different perspective than what we usually see on Big Brother. Usually, people would try and stay hidden and low-key with what they want, but Hisam was very blunt and direct and said, this is what I want, and this is how we're going to do it. I mean, it was a dictatorship. Nobody's going to deny that it wasn't a dictatorship, but you can't say that it wasn't entertaining, especially the fact that people were so annoyed with his gameplay style that he became the house target. But seeing how heartbroken he was and genuinely hurt by him getting backdoored, it does make me feel a little bit remorseful for him, you know? Even though he did bring this punishment upon himself, he still seems like a genuinely good guy who loves Big Brother, and he wanted to be there for the long haul. And it might be a little premature to say this, but if Hisam were to come back for another season, like a second chance season, I would be completely fine with it, because I feel like he has a lot of untapped potential, and I feel like if he can just change how he interacts with people and the way he talks to other people, he could be a very successful game player. But I feel like that's going to be something about his personality that is going to take some time to change. But if he were to come back the exact same way, I still wouldn't be mad about it. Now it's time to talk about people that are actually still in the game. At number 13, I have Cameron. And what can I say about Cameron that's positive? Cameron won the pressure cooker. He lasted in there for nearly 14 hours and he won HOH. And this should be a good thing for his game. He's on the bottom of the house. Now he's in a position of power. He can use this to change his position within the house. But he's not doing that. Coming into this week, Cameron was a house target. If anybody except for Cameron and his closest ally Red won HOH, they were going to be the two nominees. But Cameron changed that. And now he has the opportunity to target whoever he wants. So what does he choose to do? He decides to target the other house targets in Blue and Jag for no reason. And he has reason to target the people who put him up. He was on the block 2 weeks in a row. He has all of the reasoning in the world to put somebody like a Felicia or an Izzy on the block, yet he's choosing not to. If he were to take a shot at one of the power players like Izzy or Felicia or even a Jared, if he took the shot at them, it would shake up the house entirely and it would change his position in the game. Would it change a lot? Probably not. But the risk is there and the opportunity to change the game is there. Yet he's actively not choosing to take it. He's just setting himself up for failure. Next week, not only is he not going to be able to compete for HOH, he's still gonna be the house target. So if literally anybody except for Red wins HOH, he's going to go on the block and he's probably going to go home. Overall, it's just frustrating. It's frustrating when somebody has the opportunity to change the game and make a big move that could shake up the entire house dynamics, yet is going with the safest play in the entire house. It's infuriating because you can see what the right move for him is, yet he's actively not taking it. And it's so disappointing as a fan of the show to just see an opportunity just fly by somebody. And because of that, I don't have a lot of hope for Cameron's future in this game. If I had to guess, he's probably going to be taken out next week. Maybe, possibly even backdoored. Probably not, but still, he's going to get taken out next week, which is why I have him here at number 13. Now at number 12, I have Cameron's closest ally, Red. And Red has been in the middle of the house for a very long time, but Red has started to distance himself from the professors and is now actively only aligning himself with Cameron, which is just a bad move, from a logical standpoint, right? You're put into this alliance that has been consistently in power for the past 2 weeks, yet you're deciding, I don't want to be with them anymore. I'm going to work with this one person who's been on the bottom the entire time. It just doesn't make sense to me. Sure, he was on the bottom, but at least he was included, right? Even if he's on the bottom and he's going to be guaranteed 7th, at least he was going to get to that point where out of everyone in the professors, outside of somebody like a Jared, Red was probably the most likely person to win a competition. So I don't know why he would actively distance himself from people that were, at least to an extent, working with him. He instead isolated himself on an island with himself and Cameron to the point where both of them are the house targets. If Cameron didn't win HOH, Red and Cameron would have been targeted. And if Cameron won veto, Red would have gone home. Red was almost backdoored on Felicia's HOH as well because they wanted to target the middlemen who were moving shadily. That paranoia is never going to shake away now. Red is consistently going to be on the bottom because he chose to align with one person he really liked instead of protecting himself with multiple people. And that's overall just a very bad game move. And that creates little to no runway for the future of his game. And I honestly don't have a lot of hopes for him making a deep run into this game. He might make jury, but I don't think he's gonna win this game, which is why I have him here at number 12. Now at number 11, I have Bowie Jane. And Bowie Jane is an interesting case where she's playing actively passively, which is weird, but she's intentionally not playing the game, so she isn't perceived as a threat. But because she doesn't talk any game with anybody, people are perceiving that as, oh, she's talking game with other people. When in reality, she's just not talking game at all. And now she's being looked at as really shady, with the likes of Cirie, Izzy, and Felicia wanting to target Bowie Jane as soon as reasonably possible. And the worst part is that Bowie Jane is completely loyal to the Triple B alliance. Like, Bowie Jane actively wants that alliance to be the final five, when in reality, that alliance has completely turned on her. Outside of that, Bowie Jane doesn't have any ride or die allies. She's literally just existing in the house. I think Andy Herron, the winner of Big Brother 15, keeps making tweets about Bowie Jane just being on summer vacation, and that's honestly the trajectory she has right now. I said it before and I'll say it again. She's probably going to be collateral damage of a double eviction, and it's honestly not going to be a big loss. She's not that big of a character. I think she's simply just existing. But her her lack of proven loyalty to anybody, and the fact that she's so passive in the game, people are perceiving that passiveness as her being active with other people, and her inadvertently putting a target on herself, is such backwards reverse logic, and that it's put her in this position. And I don't think she has the game ability to recover from this big misstep, even though it wasn't even necessarily a step at all. It was almost like she was standing on a step and then she got pushed down the stairs and she was forced to take like 5 steps back. And I don't know if she's going to be able to recover that deficit. So that's why I have Bowie Jane here at number 11. Now at number 10, I have Izzy. And Izzy has moved up, but I think that's purely just like numbers based. Izzy is still making the same mistakes she was making in week 1. She's overplaying her hand to death. She's making it blatantly obvious that she is aligned with Cirie and Izzy. Not Izzy. She's making it blatantly obvious she's aligning with Cirie and Felicia, and that's putting a huge target on her back, to the point where if Jag or Blue wins the veto, Cameron wants to backdoor Izzy. Sure, Izzy doesn't have the numbers to go home. She has the numbers to stay, but still, the fact that people are willing to put her on the block at this point is concerning. Because once you get put up once, it's just going to keep happening again and again. We saw that happen with Cameron, and now we're seeing it happen with Jag. If you're put up on the block, it just makes it easier for you to get put up on the block again and again, and making you a pawn star. And that is the worst thing you can have in this game. People like America and Corey are actively clocking that Izzy is not only overplaying her hand, but rubbing people the wrong way because of how much she actively disses other people and how actively she just hates other people. I'm sure she doesn't actually hate anybody besides Cameron, but she's still like showing that she is a somewhat mean-spirited person, and that's just rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Also, Izzy's actively playing for a losing situation. Her ideal final 3 is herself, Jared, and Cirie, where she knows she's gonna get clipped in 3rd. I have no idea why she's playing like this. I think she's starstruck by the fact that she's playing with a Survivor legend. But if she's playing to win this game, which I don't think she is, she's playing it horribly. And she doesn't have a lot of traction, and she's actively being targeted by people, by people in general. And I think out of Cirie's like core alliance of Cirie, Jared, Izzy, and Felicia, out of those 4, I think Izzy's going to be the first person taken out of that group, because I think she's left herself the most vulnerable with the least amount of padding, and that scares me for her future in the game, which is why I left her here at number 10. Now for number 9, and I'm really disappointed to have this person this low, because preseason they had a lot of potential, but now coming into this week they're the target of the HOH. So at number 9 I have Jag, and Jag's game I think is just mid. His game is like the definition of mid. He's a decent strategic thinker, he's decent in comps, but his biggest issue is that he has unintentionally created a huge target for himself. He's increased his threat level unnecessarily, and he isn't actively working to diminish that threat level at all. He's just allowing people to target him, and it sucks. Like, he has to He's a nice guy, and he seems unwilling to throw people under the bus. When he had his conversation with Cameron, it could have been longer if Cameron wanted it to be, but in the time that Jag had, if he would have just taken the opportunity to throw everyone under the bus by saying, hey, the likes of like Suri and Izzy wanted to flip the vote onto you last week, if he would have just done that, he probably wouldn't have been on the block. But he's just actively like, yeah, I know you're gonna nominate me, I'll just play in the veto and hopefully I can win it, and then I'll be here for another week. Like, that's his game plan. He's just letting people do whatever they want with him. Like, if they want to nominate him, he's like, all right, I'll be nominated. If they want to use his vote, he's like, all right, I'll vote with you. Like, he's not actively playing well for himself, right? Like, I hope that makes sense. He has people protecting him in blue. Yeah, blue is the people. Blue is the only person I think that is actively fighting to keep Jag in the house. And blue is on the block next to him. So he really has nobody fighting to keep him in the house besides himself. And if he stays on the block come eviction night, he's going home. And that's really sad to see, because Jag had so much potential preseason. So much potential preseason. But it's just so sad to see that potential going to waste, because he's not actively working to improve his position within the house. He's simply just letting things fly by him and trying to stay loyal to the people he gave his allegiances to, and he's creating no future runway for himself. And that's why I have to leave Jag here at number 9. Now at number 8, I have Jag's closest ally and fellow blockmate. I have Blue. And Blue, I think, is very similar to Bowie Jane in the sense that they're both being very passive. But what separates Blue from Bowie Jane is that Blue is passive but actively showing her allegiances. Like, Bowie Jane is seen as sketchy because nobody knows where she lies. She's playing the middle. But with Blue, it's clear to everybody she's blindly loyal to Jag. And people are seeing that as, oh, well, Blue is always going to be a number for Jag. Blue's never going to be an entity in this game. And she's just not playing very well. Apparently, she told Jared, her supposed showmance, that she's not actually a content creator and she's a brand strategist. And then Jared told this to Suri. And they were both like, oh, okay, who cares? And I think, okay, side rant. This is the issue with lying about your occupation. Unless it's something super revealing that shows that you're deceptive or you're actively persuading people, I don't think it's that big of a deal to lie about your job. If you're saying, oh, I'm in college to become a doctor, cool, that means you're smart. A lot of other people are smart in this house. Nobody really cares. Let me see. Derek on Big Brother 16 lying about being an undercover cop, that was necessary, because being a cop is different from being an undercover cop. Like, when you're an undercover cop, you have to go and like actively like gain people's trust just to backstab them, like, or blunt. I mean, I'm using the terminology wrong, but you get the idea of what an undercover cop does. Lawyers, their job every day is to persuade a jury of people to side with their viewpoint on a case. That's actively their job. Those are things you want to hide. Nobody cares that you work for Coca-Cola and you manage their like advertisements or how they connect with people. Nobody cares. And it just doesn't matter. And I think that sentiment applies to Blue's game. Nobody cares. Nobody's actively like, Blue is a threat, we need to take Blue out. Blue is just simply existing. And if she loses Jag this week, she's going to have nobody. She's going to play a floater game. Maybe not even a floater game. She's going to be like a coaster. And if Jag goes, hopefully this is the sign to Blue that she actively needs to be more active in the game and start playing more. But based on how she's been playing previously, I just don't see the drive in her to make any further progress, which is why I have Blue here at number 8. Now at number 7, this person had a really rough week and almost went on the block as a secondary backdoor target, but fortunately they were able to escape that, and they've been able to recover some ground, but maybe not enough to put them in the best position. So at number 7, I have America. And America's doing a solid job. She's slowly regaining the middle position she had in the first week, but she still has a lot of damage done to her game. She's actively being perceived as a middleman, somebody who's playing the middle of the house, and seem to be the people that are currently being targeted right now, and that's actively hurting her game. There are people who do want to work with America, somebody like a Corey, Suri, Felicia, even a Jared to a certain extent, and the current HOH Cameron wants to work with America. It's just a matter of, can America make the best of those bonds she had? The reason I had America so high in my week 1 power rankings was because she was proving that she was open to expanding her options. But as the weeks have progressed, she's been slowly limiting her option. But now she's somewhat leaving her options back open, and that could be a good thing. It's just a matter of, is she going to capitalize on it? Personally, for me, I think she is. She's clearly a super fan of the show. She nearly won the pressure cooker, but threw it to Cameron because she wanted that safety and the chance to win HOH next week to guarantee herself a spot in the jury, which is smart and proves that she does have outward future thinking. I just think that her biggest flaw as of right now is the fact that she's just not that well positioned within the house. I think over time, maybe within this next week or two, she is going to be able to rebuild her ground and put herself back into a power position. But as it stands right now, she's in a somewhat middling position, which is why I have her here at number 7. Now at number 6, somebody who I'm really disappointed has dropped this low, because she was my preseason winner pick and I want to see her do well in this game, but unfortunately it seems like the game is just moving a tad bit too fast for her. So at number 6 I have Nicole, and it's really disappointing to see Nicole drop this much. She's actively being targeted because she's being seen as one of these middlemen, some of these players who are in the middle, not necessarily pledging their allegiance to one side or the other side of the house. She's been kind of a somewhat non-entity, but I think that's more so she's playing an under the radar game rather than just playing passively. She's showing that she's a very level-headed thinker. She's showing that she actively does think strategically. It's just a matter of the social bond she has isn't as strong as other people in the house. She doesn't have the padding that the players that I'm going to talk about next have. She doesn't have people like on the outside working inside for her. She's the person working on the inside working for other people. It's one thing about Nicole's game that I think is the biggest detriment to her is her low social battery, and I can relate to that because I have a low social battery as well. But I think the more and more this game is progressing, the more and more it's hurting her game. Because she has such a low social battery, she's not actively going out and making as strong of bonds as she should be. It's such a weird thing to think about because I've actually never thought about how somebody's social battery might impact their gameplay. But with Nicole, I think it's the most prevalent with her because it's now harming her position in the game. She's not as actively talking about strategy with the people she's closest with, someone like an Izzy and a Suri. And now they're interpreting that as, oh, Nicole's not working with us anymore, we need to take her out. And if people are considering taking her out this early, she's definitely going to get targeted later on into the game, which could project her to be like a mid-jury boot. I think if Nicole could just like re-strengthen those bonds she had in the past, she would be back into a better position. But as it stands right now, she has yet to do that, which is why I have her here at number 6. Now at number 5, this is somebody who I said initially they need to clean up their act. And they did the exact opposite of that. They started a food fight with how messy their gameplay was. So at number 5, I have Jared. And I think Jared's biggest flaw in the game is how he handles information. He's given key information and he tries making moves with the information he has, yet he doesn't want to give up that information, which I think the way Jared sees it, he wants to hold on to his information because it's his currency, but he still wants to make moves without revealing his information. But sometimes in the game, you have to reveal your information to make moves possible. For example, they wanted to flip the vote to keep Heisem, but Jared was like, I don't think we should keep Heisem. Heisem would target us. to the people he was telling that to, in Suri and Izzy, they were just thinking, oh, that's Jared's hunch. That's just what he's thinking. It doesn't have that much influence. But to Jared, it was fact, because Hisam had told Jared, or maybe not told Jared, but Hisam had implied to Jared that he would actively target them. But Jared was unwilling to give up that information, and so they don't trust his word as much, and they're not going to really respect his opinion on gameplay. And he's actively letting that blow his game up. Maybe not as much as somebody like a Red or a Cameron, but he's actively worsening his position because he's unwilling to give up information. He's also just he's been getting very like emotional lately. Like when Suri was telling him this whole spiel about how you need to be willing to tell us things, he got angry and he started pouting in the scary room. And he's also letting his mind get taken over with a showmance with Blue. And when people are confronting him about how he is giving information to Blue, he's getting very defensive and saying, "Oh, I'm not doing that. I ain't no simp. This, that, and the third." And it's like, he's playing with his heart now instead of his mind. What made Jared so good in the beginning was that he was playing with his mind. He was actively putting himself in the middle of the house to gain information from one side to give it to Suri's side. But now that he feels so comfortable with Suri's side, he's no longer bonding with the other side of the house he was gaining information from. And he's simply just sticking with with Suri and Izzy and Felicia. So he's limiting his position more. But the reason that he's higher is because he still does have these very strong bonds that do want to keep him for the long run. And I think that is going to bring him far, but he might get targeted sooner rather than later if he doesn't clean up his act, which is why I have Jared here at number 5. Now at number 4, this is somebody who I was really surprised to have this high in the first place. He seemed like a non-entity, somebody who was going to be blindly loyal, but he's been ramping up his gameplay in recent days, and he's improved his position a lot. So at number 4, I have Matt. And I'm really happy to see Matt this high. You know, within like the first week or so, he seemed like a golden retriever, in the sense of like somebody like a Christian from Big Brother 23, somebody who was blindly loyal to his girl and was going to die on his sword for her. But once Riley was gone from the house, Matt has actively been ramping up his gameplay. He's been bonding more with people on the other side of the house. Somebody like a Suri and Izzy, most definitely. Definitely more Suri than Izzy, but still, he's still bonding with that side of the house. And that's creating a lot of pathways for his future. He's playing into Suri's hand most definitely, but it would be better for him to play with Suri than play against Suri. And that's a really good thing for his game. It seems like Matt has separated himself from Jag and Blue, as they were perceived as a trio or a quadruplet, whatever the word is, when Riley was in the game. But now that Riley's gone, Matt has been playing more of a free agent game, and that has allowed him to create bonds with people. Cameron, the current HOH, wants to make an alliance with Matt and actively told him about it. But then Matt went and told that information to Suri, because that's where his true loyalty lies, with Suri. It seems like Matt's biggest issue in this game is being blindly loyal to the people he pledges his allegiances to. And that could be an issue for him in the future, but Matt is just such a naturally and genuinely good dude that I don't see anybody targeting him in the near future whatsoever. I think he's very solidly positioned. The only person who I would imagine taking a shot at Matt is like, I don't know, maybe like a Bowie Jane or something like that. But still though, I think Matt is in a great position, and I think that if he can further solidify his bond with Suri and the rest of Suri's alliance, he's going to make it very far in the game, which is why I have him here at number 4. Now at number 3, I'm really happy to have this person as high as I do. So at number 3, I have Felicia. And Felicia is currently the only person to have a successful HOH reign, because she's not coming out of the week being the number 1 house target. Why did I say Suri? Felicia is definitely playing up her social game. Everybody loves Felicia. Nobody is saying we need to get Felicia out. Nobody's saying that. Everybody likes Felicia, and she's using that to her advantage. I think the biggest thing is that she's too like adamant on taking certain people out. She has a one-sided beef with Bowie Jane, which is very funny like on the feeds, but gameplay wise she wants to target Bowie Jane, which is just not good for her game at all, because Bowie Jane perceives Felicia as her final two, or her ride or die, when in reality that's just not the case at all. Felicia has really solid bonds with a lot of people in the house. Even though Felicia put Cameron and Jag on the block, both of them wanted to work with Felicia in the coming weeks. So Felicia has a really solid social game, and she's capitalizing on that immensely. I think all she needs to do now is just ensure that she's just not getting targeted by anybody. I think if she can keep that target off of her back for as long as she can, she's going to make it very far and very deep into the game. And I have a lot of hopes of Felicia winning, which is why I have her so high here at number 3. Now at number 2, somebody who I'm really excited to have this high, because I was really high on him in the preseason, and he's certainly living up to that expectation. So at number 2, I have Corey. And I think Corey's best asset is his game ability. I think he is able to read the house very well. He has near perfect reads on the entire house. The only read I think he has incorrect is Cirie is Jared's mother, but that's something that he would never be able to know, which is no fault to him whatsoever. It could catch up with him in the later run, but I don't see Corey being taken out anytime soon. Corey's reads on the house are near perfect. A lot of people want to work with Corey, and nobody's actively targeting him. The only person who wanted to target Corey was Hisam, and Corey was the pivotal person in saying, no, let's not flip the vote to keep Hisam, we need to get him out, which benefited him the most. Corey is just a great strategic thinker. He's considering all of his positions, and he actively knows what he wants to do in the future. He knows he wants to go to the end with Jared because Jared can win comps to keep him safe, but he plans on cutting Jared at Final 4, which is just great long-term thinking. He also recognizes that his bond with America is super strong, and he needs to keep that relationship up. Even if he may not reciprocate the romantic feelings, he's still keeping that bond super strong, and I feel like those two could go to the end together. And if Corey is sitting at the end next to America, I think Corey could win that jury vote. The only issue I have with him is he going to be able to make it to the end? Because power players like Cirie and Felicia are recognizing that Corey is a late game threat that needs to be taken out. So Corey might get sniped out in the mid game, somewhere around the mid jury, if he's not careful. But as far as like how much like distance he has in this game, he has a lot of runway, and he's gonna make it super far into the game as long as no crazy twist comes and like auto evicts him from the house or something. As long as something like that happens, I think Corey is here for the long haul, which is why I have him here at number 2. Now at number 1, the person who has been number 1 this entire season, I have Cirie. And like I said before, this whole house is essentially Cirie is the core, and everything is revolving around Cirie. Like, that's just essentially what it is. And I think Big Brother is a game much more well suited for Cirie than Survivor. With Survivor, it's very fast paced, very physically based, whereas with Big Brother, it's very slow paced and very socially based. So Cirie excels the best with her social game. So the fact that she has now much more time to build these social bonds with everybody in the house, everybody is actively working to keep Cirie in the house, even if they know Cirie is going to be coming after them. Cameron even said, I know Izzy is targeting us, but I really love Cirie. And Red backs it up by saying Cirie is like my number 2 in the house. Even though Cirie is actively targeting them. It's mind-boggling how much control Cirie has of this house. Mind you, Cirie doesn't have outright control, right? She isn't like Paul from Big Brother 19, where everybody's just blindly saying, yes, Cirie, please evict me. It's best for your game. People are still actively playing the game and targeting her side. It's just that Cirie has so many shields in front of her and around her that nobody is actively targeting Cirie herself. With Cameron being HOH, he wants to target Izzy, not Cirie. And other people like Red actively want to target Jared, not Suri. So Suri has set herself up in this position where she's not going to be actively targeted anytime soon. I don't think there's any universe in which Suri is taken out like until like the mid jury, unless like I said with Corey, some major America's Vote twist comes in and says, oh, you get to pick a third nominee, and then Suri gets put up and somebody's like, we have the votes, let's get Suri out, and then Suri goes. Unless something like that happens, I don't see Suri going home anytime soon, and I think she's guaranteed or near guaranteed the end game, which is honestly so impressive of her. And because of her impressive gameplay, I have to leave her here at number 1. Overall, despite Suri completely controlling the dynamics of this house is still shaping up to be a very interesting future. It seems like there are some preliminary house targets in like someone like a Cameron, Jag, Red, and Blue, but after that, it seems like this house is actively like fluid in that nobody necessarily knows who's pointing their shots at who and who's going to get taken out next. And I feel like if a couple HOHs go the right way, we could be fueling up for a very interesting like divided season. Maybe not as split house as we thought it was going to be in week 1, but definitely it's going to be people taking shots at other people on opposite sides, and it's going to be very entertaining to watch, and I will be here for the entire ride, and I'm so excited. After Big Brother 24, I felt mixed because narratively speaking, it was an amazing season. But gameplay wise, it wasn't that strong in that it seems like a lot of the moves that were made were pretty obvious or like fairly obvious and things like that. But with this season, it seems to be a much higher caliber of strategic thinking. And I honestly love that. And I love that that's the trajectory that this season is going. But those are my thoughts on this week of Big Brother. If you want to leave your thoughts, leave them in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you have any of those. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.